Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, going to hear a story titled, It's Been 4 Years and I Thought I Was Past It, but after this Memorial Day, I'm not and I need advice. And guys, this story which I'm going to go over is hands down the craziest revenge story I have yet to cover. In the entire year and a half I've been here on YouTube. Last summer I did what I thought was the craziest revenge story. No, this blows past it, okay? And by the way, a big shout out to Ash for sending me this story. This is all about a guy, he is now in his late 30s, and he goes over the course of his life over 20 years, how this guy came absolutely from very tough beginnings as a child, but overcomes them like a man should, which is awesome, and you're going to see that for his reasons. But then ultimately you're going to see how he is absolutely just destroyed by his loved ones, his extremely deceitful wife, and his unbelievably disrespectful and ungrateful daughter. And let me tell you, he goes scorched earth on these two. And there are others as well that do him wrong. And there's hardships he goes through, but ultimately in the end, you're going to see how he gets things together. And this is actually a 3-part story, guys, because if I did the whole thing today, we'd be here for like an hour and 20 minutes. It's long. And you're going to see this first video is obviously long, but it's a good one. So if you're in the car, relax. This is a good story for a good period of time. If you're at home, kick back, have some popcorn, have a beer, listen to this while you're having lunch, whatever, but this is a good one. So I'm going to jump into it. Starts off, he says, I've been stalking these subreddits for a while, and I thought just reading people's stories would help me out. Or if I found someone with a similar situation, I could see how they did it. But I guess my situation is unique, so here we go. And yes, this situation is unique. He says, first, let me be clear. I don't care if you think this is fake. I don't care if you want to rip me a new one after I vent. It already happened. I thought I was okay. I thought I moved on, but after last weekend, it all came back, and that anger I had back then just came in full force, and even though I'm back home with my fiance, that anger towards my ex just won't go away. I spent years in anger management for what she did and the situation that was created, and I thought I was okay. Right now, I just turned 39. I was 18 when I met my ex, Marisol. During that time, I was in a gang with and I'm not going to say the name here, guys, because YouTube probably wouldn't like me naming this gang, but let's just say it's where a lot of young Latino guys, they join it, and it's a very well-known gang. I'm sure you guys could probably figure it out. He says, I was a member since I was 13 and always in and out of trouble. So 13 years old, he was in a very, very well-known gang. So you can imagine the trouble and the path his life was going. And yet you're going to see how he gets his act together. He says, Marisol was a church girl. My grandmother dragged me to Sunday Mass, and when I saw her, to me, it was love at first sight. I asked my cousin, who was a friend of hers, if he could introduce us, but he refused. He didn't want me to mess with her. He didn't want me to ruin her. Have you ever met someone that you wanted to make yourself better to be with? No, I can't say I have. That was her. I wanted to be the man who would walk the right path. When I found out that she was going to church almost every day, I hung out by the steps talking to her. I always walked to her to and from church. She made me feel like I wasn't worthless. One thing led to another, and we were dating, and I felt great. For a year and a half, I pushed myself away from the gang life. Well, that's awesome. This is a situation where a good girl, or at least you think is a good girl at the time, can help a guy get past his bullshit, and that could have been easy, obviously growing up where he did. I'm sure the gang didn't like him suddenly, disappearing or not doing what they do because of some girl. And obviously she liked her bad boy who was in the gang who she could reform. I want to point that out. He says, so I got my GED, became a regular churchgoer, and was thinking about the future when I unintentionally got pulled back in. They always get pulled back in. Until you leave that environment, if people who grow up in bad environments, the first thing you got to do is get them out of there. Because if they remain there or go back to it, the old things are going to drag them back in. He says, I was at a store and ran into someone that I used to have problems with. They were running their mouths off and I tried to ignore it. I swear I did. I just let them talk and I walked away. But then I got stabbed in the shoulder blade and lost my mind. I beat the crap out of him. I got arrested, and suddenly it was like the shit I did to make my life better vanished. So he gets attacked, and then he gets arrested. What a little bullshit. If he didn't fight back, he could have gotten killed. He says, Marisol was pissed at me. My grandmother kept bringing up my past mistakes, and my cousin was telling me that he knew I wasn't going to change. Wow, what a great support network there. My public defender saw me trying to better myself, and by the grace of God, got me off after a month in lockup. Despite being angry with me, Marisol did visit me almost daily. A month after I got out, I found out I was going to be a father, and I didn't want my kid to have a dad that was was dead or in jail. He got lucky that it was only a month, and everything. But surprise, surprise, she's pregnant. Let me adjust this. Very bright here. Yeah, she's pregnant. But you're going to see, this is what's going to take to get him truly get his life together. Sometimes guys need this type of thing. He says, we eloped. I went to trade school to become a mechanic, and I busted my ass for my future family. That's great, man. He saw that he's going to be a dad, and he is going to take responsibility. He's going to get his life together. He was already trying, which was really great, But he knew he was going to be a dad and did what he had to do. This is it. I'm going to turn on my life and give my girl a nice life. I respect this. He says, Marisol wouldn't, when Luna was born, it was almost the worst day of my life. Marisol wouldn't stop bleeding. She went into shock, and they had to give her a double hysterectomy. She was in the hospital for months, and Luna became my world. I wanted her life to be the best. I wanted to give her the world. When Marisol was released, I promised her that our daughter will have a life far better than ours for years, and I kept that promise. You're going to see he does. He says, I saved enough money to move us out to the suburbs. Became homeowners. I was a Girl Scout leader, if you can believe that. Okay, slow down, dude. That's cool, all the other stuff, but becoming a Girl Scout leader, that's going a bit too far. You can take her out to sell cookies to the neighborhood and things like that, but no dude should be the Girl Scout leader. But I'm joking around here, obviously, guys. But this guy, what he's done, given like he obviously came from the streets and nothing, and then he got out of there, got his GED, managed to not be in prison for 20 years for something, went to a trade school, became a mechanic, got his life together. That's awesome. Great respect. This goes to show you guys that people can change their situation if they really, really want to and have the right motivation. And this guy did. It obviously first came from meeting this girl, and he wanted to be a better man. Then he found out that he was going to be a dad, and he wanted to he wanted his kid to go through the same crap that he did. And obviously the wife is from a bad neighborhood. This is awesome. People can change their lives, guys. For any of you guys who are in bad situations, you can change, okay? Ain't going to be easy, but you can make things better. Perfect example. Anyhow, he says, the Girl Scout thing, which I'm going to just ignore. He says, I made sure Luna went to a private school, made sure she knew how to defend herself, and always made sure I was the perfect husband. I didn't know my parents, didn't have a positive male role model in my life, so I didn't know what a healthy relationship looked like. That's a lie. TV dads were my male role models, and I mimicked them and the marriage they had on TV. Well, that's a sign of trouble. How many times have I told you guys about what they portray men and marriages and all that, and the courtship and all that is bullshit. Total bullshit. You act like the dudes on TV, which, by the way, they portray men as a bunch of boneheads. It's not going to go well for you. So, but he was young, and he said here, he had no male role model. This is why it's so important to have a good role model, a good mentor when you're young. A lot of people, but it goes both ways, don't have that, and they need it, especially a crucial time when you're growing up, teenage years. As the years went on, I owned my own garage. Sweet. Now he's a business owner. This is fucking awesome. My cousin became a pastor. My grandmother was still a pain in the ass. My relationship with my wife was stronger than ever. I made sure I kept my prison body, but Luna hated me. What could be going on here? This guy's been obviously great to this girl. Perhaps maybe a little too great to her. Maybe she's getting a little spoiled, a little bit of an attitude. Well, we will see where this goes. Since she turned 13, she just started hating me. She didn't want to hug me, rolled her eyes every time I told her I loved her, ignored me, and when I asked her about her day at school, it hurt me, and Marisol saw it. She told me that she's a teenager and I should just let her ride. I don't think so. If your kid is being outright unbelievably disrespectful and all that, you call that kid out on their crap. You lay down the law. I don't care if it's your little girl. I don't care if she's 13. Don't just say, oh, just being a kid. By you allowing this only just invites more bad behavior. It's like, well, I can act like a jerk because, well, my dad and my mom aren't going to call me on it. And I get being a teenager is hard. I've been a teenager. Believe me, I would never go back. I would never go back to the junior high years. I don't care how much money you paid me. High school, if I had to. College, yes. But it's hard. But still, you don't disrespect your parents and act like this. Especially what he did to get his life together for him and her. Anyhow. She will come, as I said, let it ride. She will come back to me one day. For 2 years, it was like that. So for her quinceañera, I think I pronounced that properly, I wanted to go all out. I got everything she wanted, and she was still disrespectful, and briefly, the old me almost came out just to put her in her place, but instead, I went to my cousin, then to my frustration and doubts about being a good father, and he told me just to let her be, and he said a prayer for me. So he said right there, he almost let his old self out to put her in her place. Well, he should have. You don't give her this all-out thing for her quinceañera, and she's been acting like a jackass for 2 years. No way. My parents were old school. I've mentioned this in other videos, guys. My parents were military, and they didn't tolerate any shit. They were good parents, and they loved me. But believe me, if I got on the line, they would let me have it. Mark, let me tell you. Goes on. I wanted a slideshow for the father-daughter dance. I got a chunk of the pictures of us together, but realized I didn't have any recent pictures of us. She didn't want to take any. The last time I had pictures of her and I smiling was me on her 13th birthday, and those were on my daughter's broken tablet. I took that tablet, went to a repair shop, and didn't care for the cost. I needed that tablet fixed. After a day and $300, the tech fixed it and I was happy. I knew her passcode, but I never bothered invading her privacy. I just wanted those pictures, and when I opened the tablet, I looked in the gallery, and there they were. Oh, wait till you see what he finds on that tablet. When I first read this, guys, it was like, oh boy. He says, my little girl, smiling and happy to be with me, it felt great. And then the instant messages appeared. It was my daughter talking to my wife. It was a long banter that she didn't want me to dance with her, and it did hurt. But like my wife said, she's being a teenager. Then she said something that destroyed me. She texted, why should she have to do the father and daughter dance with me since I'm not her father? Imagine that. Imagine that shock. I felt my heart stop. I got dizzy, my mouth dried up, and I needed to sit down. My wife responded that I raised her, I loved her, and that makes me her father. But Luna responded by saying that my cousin is her father, and she can't wait for her to turn 18 so she could tell me the truth and that she could live with her real dad. Holy shit. So guess what happened when he was in jail? His wife was hooking up with the cousin, who's a priest, I might add. This sounds like a freaking daytime TV show. Hooking up with his cousin, who is the priest. Now the guy's a priest. He's done all this stuff for the girl, and you see how she treats him. And obviously, she found out, so therefore, she thinks he's scum. What a load of shit. I mean, this is just terrible. Goes on. She continues on saying that she hated me, that she thanked God that I'm not her father. Marisol began cussing her out, saying that it was a mistake for my cousin to tell her the truth 2 years ago, and the more they talked, the angrier I was getting. My wife lied to me for 15 years. My cousin, whom I confide my issues about Luna and my fears about being a bad father, not only effed my wife, but had me raise his child. I wanted to hurt them. I felt a mixture of anger, sorrow, grief. I wanted to scream, cry, and die at the same time, if that makes any sense. That makes perfect sense. That's terrible. Look what this guy has done in his life to turn his life around and obviously provide a good life for his wife, the girl, the whole 9 yards. And this is the same cousin, he said, who didn't want him to get with the girl early on. Remember that part of the story? And was obviously had his issues. Well, now we know why. He says, I went to a dark place so I wouldn't do anything stupid. I told Marisol that I needed to focus on work so I could pay for the quinceañera, and instead I drove to Manhattan and saw my old public defender who wasn't a low-level attorney anymore. He had a nice expensive firm near Midtown East. I was surprised that he remembered me, but apparently I was his first case as a public defender. We sat down and I told him everything. I gave him the tablet, and when he turned it on, the messages kept coming. Only this time, Luna was talking to my cousin, her real father, and he was telling her to give me a chance. How I was always there for her, but Luna told him that so was he. How it made sense that they have so much in common, and even called him Poppy multiple times in their conversation, and he responded and told her that she was his little girl. What an asshole. We went through our options, and he asked me what did I want to do. And I told him I wanted to go full Scorched Earth. And let me tell you guys, he most certainly does. I wanted to poison the well, and he asked me several times if that is what I wanted, and I nodded. I also told him that everything had to be filed before the quinceañera in 2 weeks. So we sat down and spent the next 12 hours on what was needed to be done, and I followed his instructions to the letter. I secretly placed my business for sale. I called the private school and told them that I will not be paying for next year. I closed the college accounts and the savings I had for Luna and prepared to place my house for sale online. Holy shit. Moral of this story right away is never mess with a guy that used to run in a gang. I don't care how much he changes his life. That's going to come out if you piss him off and push him too far. He continues, no one was the wiser. I followed his instructions perfectly. There was only one thing I deviated from, the day of the quinceañera. That day went off without a hitch. The whole family was there. Luna was smiling, having fun. Marisol kept asking me if I was okay, and I lied to her. It was hard lying to her. From the moment I met her, I never lied to her, and during those 2 weeks, every time I kissed her, held her, and made love to her, it was hard to not scream at her. It was hard not to hate her. She not only let me raise another man's child, she slept with my cousin, a man who I saw as my brother, the godfather of my child, the best man when I eloped, my confidant. So the rage was hard to suppress, to say the least. Wait till you see what happens. And by the way, as we're going to see what happens here, guys, this is one element to this that I think the guy took it too far. Okay, I mean, I'm not a monster here. And a lot of people watch me and think I'm a scumbag and I'm horrible. No, I'm not. I got no problem with the other stuff, but wait till you see what happens. When it was time for the father-daughter dance, I called her to the center of the stage. She looked annoyed. Well, there's a surprise. She looked annoyed. If what he's about to do, he may feel justified. The fact that she looked annoyed. How much money is this guy spending for this? She looked annoyed but walked over. I had the music playing and she smiled and it tore me apart. Seeing her smiling at me. For years I wanted to see that smile again, and now I didn't want it. As we danced, I had the slideshow playing. Pictures of the two of us towards the end of the song, then screenshots of her text messages with her mother and real father. Ho. So everybody there, he's dancing, the father-daughter dance, and they got a big thing with pictures and a slideshow, and then the slideshow ends the pictures to the text conversation that everybody can see that she was having with her mother, and that he's not the real dad and all this other stuff. Holy shit. And in my opinion, that's taken it too far. Not towards mom, but because it's the girl. Now, the girl's acting like an ungrateful jackass. We can all agree there, okay? And total disrespect, not cool at all. And honestly, he should have laid down the law with her a long time ago. But she's still a fucking kid, an emotional kid, and that's, to me, a bit too far. Just because, it doesn't excuse her actions and her attitude, but still, when you're a teenager, you do a lot of stupid ass things, you say stupid things. I did a lot of things I regret as a teenager, and I had to be held accountable for them. I was a kid, and fortunately, some people in my childhood, they recognize he's a good kid. He's just, he's a kid, and I'm glad they had that heart for me. But nevertheless, the girl's still an asshole. I'm not going to deny that, but holy shit, everybody's seeing these texts on that thing. Needless to say, this didn't bode too well. Marisol looked like she saw a ghost. Luna just kept staring at the large screen, and my cousin just stared at me with fear. Oh, he has a lot to fear. Marisol ran to me and told me that she could, wait for it, explain. And I told her that I filed for a divorce, that she could explain it in court. She grabbed my arm, begging me, and I pulled back. I told Luna that I busted my ass to give her the world, and now she doesn't deserve it. I began to walk out, but not before telling my cousin that every time I see him, I'm going to knock him out. And then I knocked him out. Knocking out a quote-unquote man of God. This guy, like I said, biggest moral of the story is don't mess with a guy that was formerly in a gang. The aftermath was harsh. Marisol Luna was at my grandmother's apartment. Her family was shocked and disgusted with her. They wanted nothing to do with her. Her father actually apologized to me. I don't know why. He never liked me despite turning my life around. The man hated me, but now I was the perfect husband and father. But just a few days prior, I was the former piece of crap. My grandmother had the audacity to tell me about the story of Abraham and how when he came back from battle 3 years later, his wife had a 1-year-old child and he raised him as his own, and how I should be like Abraham. So I told her to get the F out of my house. Marisol came a few days later crying as soon as she saw me, telling me that it was an accident. That when I was arrested, she was so angry at me, and my cousin was there to console her, and one thing led to another, and they had you-know-what. I'm so mad at you that I'm going to then be consoled and sleep with your cousin. Yeah, that's real nice. That's no excuse. It happened only once. Sure. It happened only once, and she was faithful to me ever since. That doesn't matter. You've been lying for 15 years, and with his cousin. You certainly were going to have, she's going to have you bust your butt and spend all the money on her and the girl and raise the girl. What about the cousin? Nope. It happened only one time, and she was faithful to me ever since. She was willing to take a lie detector test to prove it. So I asked her how long she knew Luna wasn't mine, and she started crying more. The old crocodile tears. The look she gave me just told me that she knew from day one, and I asked her to leave. She wanted to go to counseling, telling me that I was overreacting and we could make it work. It was in the past, and I needed to get over it. Oh my God. You need to get over it. Even though I've been lying for 15 years, even though this is somebody else's child, and amongst the many other things. Yeah, you don't want to play hardball again with a guy that was once in a gang. He says that I am Luna's father despite what happened, and I allowed my temper to get the best of me. I must have repeated get over it over a dozen times at full volume while grabbing her shit and tossing it out the door. I called her a lying W-H-O-R-E. I told her that I didn't want to see her effing face ever again. And I told her that this life that I built no longer belonged to her before shoving her out the door. A couple weeks later went by, and she kept blowing up my phone. Not once Luna tried to reach out to me. No surprise there. Marisol was shocked to learn that I sold my business. Even more so when she learned that I had an open house. She came in screaming, telling the viewers to get out of her house and pleading with me to seek help. That I was ruining our marriage. That I had no right to sell our home. The home where we raised our child in, and I told her that this house is full of lies. It's a house where I raise another man's child, when I sell it, I will give her half, and ordered her to get out before I called the cops. It was a bluff. All she had to do was play the victim, and I would have been arrested. But she didn't. She complied. Shortly after this, my cousin came to talk to me, and I knocked him out, dragged him outside, and closed the door. I wasn't kidding, guys, about this being the craziest revenge story that I have heard and covered so far. He continues, I refused mediation. Marisol wanted to reconcile, but I didn't. I wanted a divorce, and my attorney filed for a fast-track divorce, and in 3 months, we were in the Nassau County Courthouse. I barely spoke to anyone during that time. I read horror stories about the court system, especially during divorce proceedings. But I didn't have that. I had a female judge who was very fair. My attorney took care of everything. First, Marisol's lawyer tried to talk about my past when I was in a gang, as if my past barred a reason for me to be a terrible husband and father. But my attorney quickly smashed that down, and the judge reprimanded her attorney for trying to shame someone who turned their life around. And this guy really did turn his life around. I mean, it's amazing what he did. I have so much respect for that guy, for what he's done, turning around his life. My attorney presented all the evidence and offered a lump sum alimony payment with the pending sale of the house and the business. At first, Marisol kept asking me to reconsider, but I ignored her, and when she finally realized I'm not budging, she agreed. Yet the real surprise happened when it came to child support. My attorney presented all the text messages from Luna's conversation with Marisol, showing that not only Luna knew, but that I am not her father, but she cannot wait to be with her real father, saying that she no longer has to live a lie. Marisol was completely caught by surprise from this. Then my attorney filed a motion to have my name removed from Luna's birth certificate, having my last name removed as well as not being responsible for any child support since all parties agreed that my cousin was her father. Damn, good lawyer. And they just shot themselves in the foot with all those text messages because there was all that proof showing that this guy isn't the father. And wait till you see what happens next. Marisol was shocked by this. She yelled at me, begged me not to do this to Luna, and that I'm her father because I raised her, and as pathetic as it may sound right now, but if Luna didn't act that way towards me, if she didn't say those things, I would have agreed. There were moments that I wanted to reach out and try to make it work, but then I would look at Luna's continuing text messages to her friends, her real father and mother, and I refocused on my resolve. Till this day, I don't know what hurts the most, being lied to by a woman who you thought was the love of your life, or having a child who you try to make their lives better to give them the world, just toss you aside like trash. And she was a little shithead. I absolutely 100% agree with that completely. Ungrateful, disrespectful. I can go on all these different terms to describe her actions, okay? But at the end of the day, and people are going to disagree with me here, she was still a kid, okay? And kids do and say a lot of stupid ass things, okay? And it's not the same as being held accountable as a adult. But she deserved a lot of what came, but I will disagree with the whole thing that happened with the whole father-daughter dance. That, in my opinion, has gone too far. All the other stuff, I got no problem with. Screw them. She wants to be with her real father? Well, there you go. I'm going to sell all the stuff. You're no longer going to private school. I'm out of here. I got no problem with that, you little shithead. But you'll see as this story continues on where things go. The judge was quiet for a long while, reading page after page after page of the text messages. In the end, she agreed. I was not financially responsible for Luna, and my name could be removed from the birth certificate. My attorney also filed a motion for the courts to go after my cousin to pay for child support, and a motion to sue my cousin in civil court for all the money I had spent raising Luna. Holy shit, I told you this was good. The private schools, dance classes, Girl Scouts, horseback lessons, everything I'd spent on that child after my attorney explained to the judge that my cousin committed fraud for knowingly allowing me to raise his daughter and not offer any financial support or assistance. It was a Hail Mary, and the damn judge agreed. This seems like so good to be true in terms of how it worked out for me. I gotta admit, there's a part of me is kind of wondering how accurate this is, but you never know. I didn't bother looking at Marisol when the judge made her decision. I didn't bother listening to her as I walked out of the courthouse. I didn't care as I heard her cry. Her telling me that she only cheated one time was faithful ever since, I didn't care anymore. After a few weeks later, my ex called me, shocked that I stopped payments on Luna's private schools and all her activities, and told her to call her baby daddy before hanging up. Even Luna called me, first time since this entire ordeal, and she effing calls me crying that she has to go to public school, and they were moving to the old neighborhood, and how scary it was, and how she wanted us to be a family again. Tough shit, asshole. There are some things I will, slightly give the pass because she was an emotional kid. And there are other things, no. The disrespect and all other stuff, too bad. You thought I was crap? I did all these things for you? Oh, no. You're going back to the old neighborhood. You're going to public school. No more with the horse riding lessons. You're going to learn a tough life lesson right now. And you're going to see, guys, this tough lesson will help down the road. Goes on. I told her to go to her real father, the man who she truly wanted, and ask him. I yelled at her, told her that not only did she knew for years, but I read all the text messages, the back and forth from her own words, and she was thankful that the hoodlum like me wasn't her father. Even though I have been a hoodlum since the day I found out I was going to be a father, I hung up on her after that. Goodbye. He continues on. I thought about ending it countless times. Though thought about ending my cousin, but I made him pay. He had to pay me $500,000. $500,000 that was all mine, and not 1 cent belonged to my ex because she agreed on the lump sum. Ha! I didn't care that the money came from the church. I was hurting. I left New York shortly after, went to Idaho, as furthest away from New York as possible. I just picked a random state and city and just left. I opened up a new shop, got a house, but for 2 years I had trust issues. For 2 years, I saw a therapist, anger management, I went to rage rooms. It was difficult until I found myself going back to church, and ironically, that was where I met my fiance. Well, here we go again. And he definitely goes for the church girls. But look, all the shit that went down, he picked up his life and he got out of there, which he definitely should have done. Because it just would have been hell. And started over. So after all this hell, he started off a childhood hell, got his shit together, built a life, which is awesome, went through this hell, that's it, moving on, started over again. See, this is what men do. We don't let ourselves be destroyed and ruin our lives. This guy, he easily could have gone back to his old ways. He easily could have become a drunk, started doing drugs. No. He went to therapy, anger management. That's a lot of things for a guy to do. Story continues, and I'm going to hustle here, guys, because I can see this video is getting pretty long here. I knew the first one would be. Jocelyn, the fiance, is wonderful. She just turned 30 at the time, and we just hit it off. I told her everything that happened to me. I explained to her that I'm going to have trust issues, and she understood. A year later, she told me that I was going to be a dad and insisted that for me to have a DNA test, just so I could have peace of mind. Very smart. I forgot what it was like to be happy again, and when my son was born, I was overjoyed. I called my grandmother for the first time in years. She cried, and when I told her about my son, she insisted I come to New York so she could get to meet her great-grandchild, guilt-tripping me by saying that she's 90 and would like to see me one more time, and I agreed. Those grandmas. We flew to New York City, rented a car, and drove to Bushwick. The one thing I dislike about the hood, you only need to see one person from your past and the whole effing neighborhood knows that you're back. My grandmother saw my son, met my fiance, made an offshoot comment in Spanish about her being white, and I just yesed her to death. I was planning to spend the week, do the tourist thing for once. It was Jocelyn's first time in her life, the Big Apple, and I wanted to make it special. Damn it, nothing works out as planned. First, my ex shouted my name from the downstairs. So, Marisol's back. I looked out the window and was surprised how fat she got. My grandmother told me in Spanish to talk to her, and Jocelyn agreed. I went downstairs. Why would he have to talk to her? He's done with her. Right? Too bad, Grandma, but you'll see. Things happen for a reason, one could say. I went downstairs, was awkwardly silent for a minute, and that anger just came back in like a flood. Marisol told me that I looked good, and that she looked like shit. She told me that she misses me, and she's never been with another man since the divorce, and I ignored her. She had even had the audacity to tell me that I'm a grandfather, and gave her a look. Apparently Luna got with a decent guy and got knocked up at 18. Well, the acorn doesn't fall far from the tree, now does it? Her baby daddy joined the Marines to support them, and her father wanted nothing to do with her. Just pays the child support and refused to acknowledge her. So the old priest, who's going to be the perfect dad for her, wants to have nothing to do with her. Imagine that. This guy is a lowlife, his cousin. He's no longer a pastor and is working at the Banco Popular 2 blocks away. So he went from being a pastor to working at the bank. One can make definite jokes about that. Then told me that Luna named the baby after me, and I couldn't stand looking at her. Marisol wanted me to wait because Luna was on her way over, and I just walked away. I went to my grandmother's house, and I didn't have to tell Jocelyn anything. She just knew when we left. In the elevator, I told her what happened, and she smiled and told me everything was going to be all right. This is a supportive girl he's got here. But, understanding his past, the guy has to always watch out for the red flags. And just want to say here, newsflash, this one seems to be all right. She knew when we left. The look on Marisol's face when we left the building, she was looking at my fiancé like she was the other woman, and Jocelyn, without missing a beat, introduced my son to her. Well, she said, I would like you to meet his biological child. That was a knife twist, but she knew my pain. Maricel kept trying to stop me from leaving, telling me that Luna felt bad about what she did and Jocelyn wanted me to make amends. But I was so angry. I hopped into the car, ignoring Maricel's pleas, and Jocelyn told me to extend an olive branch, so I gave her my number so Luna could call me and left. At the red light, I saw my cousin by the I can't pronounce it, some kind of stand that sells food, and I don't know what came over me. I got out of the car, ran up to him, and beat the crap out of him. Jocelyn was screaming, telling me to stop, and when we locked eyes, I could see the fear. I spit on him and left. Again, don't mess with a former gang member. Now, I understand how he's feeling there, but the last thing he needs to do is get arrested for assault, right? Believe me, he punched him a couple times. Enough's enough. I'm back home, working, being a dad, and a good fiance to a beautiful woman. And since going back, when I'm alone with my thoughts, the anger comes back. Luna did text me with a picture of her smiling with her son and tell me that she was sorry for what she did. Yeah, I don't know if she's sorry that she missed me or if she's sorry because the man she wanted to be her father wasn't the man she thought he was. I'm so confused and I'm scared to reach out to her. I want to get past this. I want to move on. My family was my everything. My daughter was my world. Even after all these years, it still hurts and still makes me angry. But I know I need to move on. But it's hard. I want to reach out to Luna, but I'm so scared. I have people telling me to let her back in. But all I could think about were those text messages and the lies. The constant lies. I need help and my usual methods are not working. Thank you for reading this. I need to vent. Like I mentioned, I don't care if you think this is fake. I really don't give a rat's ass, but your help is appreciated. So there you go, guys. I'm going to wrap this up. We're going 36 minutes here, but like I said before in the beginning, the craziest revenge story I've ever heard. Holy shit, this guy went scorched earth. To all of them. The ex-wife, the disrespectful, ungrateful shithead daughter, and his asshole cousin. And believe me, with the exception of the whole on the screen thing at the quinceañera dance, which I disagree with, everything else, but look how this guy came from nothing, bad childhood, got his shit together, did everything he could for years as a man, which is awesome. Then all this happened, scorched earth. Don't mess with this dude. Talk about revenge, but then got it back together. And we're going to continue on with part 2 of this tomorrow, Saturday, and part 3 on Sunday to see how this continues on. And will this have a happy ending? We will see. But quite the story. So anyhow, guys, thank you for sticking with me this whole 37 plus minutes here. Be sure to comment down below what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.